Hey there, thanks so much for joining us here on KREM 2. I'm Jenny Power, and it's time to really break down what we are seeing with the weather impact alert that is going to be in place for Saturday, August 1st across the inland Northwest, because we have kind of a unique situation here. We have widespread red flag warnings, but now the National Weather Service has also added on top of that a tag that is newer here for the National Weather Service to attach to fire criteria, but it is something called a particularly dangerous situation on top of the red flag warnings that we are set to see. So that's kind of what we'll be talking about here. I was just on a briefing with the National Weather Service to kind of talk about some of the conditions we are preparing to see for this upcoming weekend. We are preparing to be facing critical to even extreme fire weather conditions for much of the inland Northwest. So that's what we are preparing for. We do have these widespread red flag warnings that have been issued, and they are in place starting at 11 a.m. on Saturday and lasting until 11 p.m. because of the combination of very dry conditions, relatively low humidity that we'll see tomorrow afternoon, and then elevated winds on top of it. But this is kind of a unique situation here where we do have layered on top of this now the criteria to elevate parts of this red flag warning into a particularly dangerous situation. So that again is a newer tag that was really implemented and started to be attached to fire conditions since 2025. So really just within the last couple of years, we've been seeing this be possible for the National Weather Service to talk about. And in fact, it is even so new of a tag that when we usually talk about the shading here on the maps, our software isn't that up to date with it. They haven't gotten that upgrade for this kind of situation. So the area within this red flag warning that could be experiencing this particularly dangerous situation includes Spokane, the Waterville Plateau, up toward parts of the Okanagan Valley, south to parts of the western lower Columbia Basin, out toward the Colville Reservation, the Palouse, and down on the Snake River. And when we talk about this particularly dangerous situation within a red flag warning, it's for a shorter amount of time as well. So that is only going to be in place from 2 p.m. on Saturday until 8 p.m. So let's talk about some of the criteria that has to be met when we see this type of situation implemented and being upgraded by the National Weather Service. In fact, it was kind of funny that the National Weather Service said this is an example of like kind of waving their hands in the air and saying this is really something to pay attention to because it's not our typical red flag warnings. So some of the criteria that has to be met are the fire weather conditions lasting 3+ hours, which is what we're expecting to see tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening. The other thing that has to happen is little to no rain in the past 30 to 90 days, which out at the Spokane International Airport, for example, we had no measurable precipitation for the entire month of July, and we are expecting to continue to see dry conditions through August. So not only does this factor in the meteorology that we are seeing for the inland Northwest, but it also considers the fuels and the conditions that we have previously been seeing. And we know that with little to no rain in the past 30 to even over 30 days for parts of our region, that's leading to further drying out fuels. So the other criteria that has to come into play are our wind speeds at 30 miles per hour or higher for a consistent amount of time, and then that low relative humidity. We are preparing to see some pretty gusty conditions on top of this, and we are right now in the thick of wildfire season. So seeing some of those impacts already with the numerous fires that are burning across our state, this could lead to difficulty keeping those fires contained. We could see spread for existing fires, and then also new fires start and spread rapidly. So taking a look at my notes here, just because it just hopped off of that weather briefing with the National Weather Service, making sure that we've covered everything for some of those newer criteria for the PDS, or particularly dangerous situation, for the red flag warnings. As we take a look at the Spokane Almanac, temperatures this afternoon were in the low 90s. So today what we are most concerned about is, yes, it is dry out there, and then we continue to see hotter temperatures that just further dries out the fuels that we are seeing across our region. And then taking a look at our rain totals so far for the month of July, no measurable precipitation out at the Spokane International Airport. And July and August are typically our driest months out of the year. When it comes to fire danger tomorrow, this is just focusing on tomorrow afternoon. Relative humidity, it starts to drop by early afternoon and conditions will be dry. I mean, as low as down into the teens for parts of the lower Columbia Basin, Kennewick, and south to Walla Walla. So those dry conditions on top of winds that will be fairly gusty out of the west-southwest are why we are seeing these fire weather conditions varying from critical to even extreme. So winds will be coming out of the west-southwest starting to ramp up by about early afternoon. We're talking about lunchtime into 1 p.m. Winds then continue to escalate as we head into late afternoon, early evening, and that's really when we're expecting to see some of our strongest consistent winds there and why we have that particularly dangerous situation criteria unfortunately being met. So we will be seeing gusts near 40 miles per hour. Even some isolated areas could see gusts up near 50 miles per hour. So when we talk about this being some newer criteria, because that's just a newer tag kind of tacked on to the red flag warnings, some dates, unfortunately, that would have previously met this criteria if it were a thing include August of 2023 when we saw the gray fires out in Medical Lake, as well as the Oregon Road fire. And another example of seeing these kinds of weather conditions would have been back in September of 2020 when we saw the Malden fire. So extreme fire weather conditions, not our typical red flag warnings. Now's the time to make sure that you are well prepared for wildfires. You know what to do if a new one breaks out in your area or we see that fire spread. And of course, we are in the middle of fire season, but always some good reminders here. Make sure that you have an idea and you are prepared to evacuate. You know what you would do in that situation. Now, also have a way to make sure you're listening to emergency channels. Knowing the status of the fire is going to be very important. And also having things like a go bag full of necessities ready to go. Things like medication, important documents that you might need in the case that you have to evacuate. And if you are someone who has livestock or pets, have items for them as well. As we take a look at what's also happening weather-wise, we do just have a wind advisory in place for parts of the Kittitas Valley specifically. This is one area that could see gusts up to 50 miles per hour. While our main focus and what is going to be top of mind for us does have to do with the fire danger risk, we could see other elements of these higher winds. Things like blowing dust, reducing visibility. We could see damage to tree branches, potentially some isolated power outages. But the main concern is going to be on that critical to extreme fire weather danger that is going to be encompassing the inland northwest. So Saturday is our weather impact alert day. Through Sunday, because of this incoming system that's picking up our winds, it's also going to cool down our temperatures. Highs will be in the upper 70s. Conditions will still be dry, so we still have that fire weather risk. But right now, the red flag warnings are just in place for Saturday. That is how we are kicking off the month of August, unfortunately. And really for the first week of August, we are set to hang on to mostly dry conditions. So it's something that we have to monitor very closely. Having the KREM 2 app is going to be very crucial. It's where you can get updates around the clock for your particular area. It's also where you can always stream our live local radar 24/7. So make sure you have that as well as other channels to get emergency updates.